This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. Welcome to another episode of Mountaineer Moments. I'm your host, Troy, and this is a special edition of the Mountaineer Moment as we talk about 5 things to watch for in the Mountaineer matchup with the Ohio Bobcats coming up this weekend. The Mountaineers' first road game of the season, obviously the shortest distance that they're going to have to travel for a road game this season because of life in the Big 12. But they're heading to Ohio, heading to Athens, where they're going to play the defending champions of the MAC Conference, who finished 11-3 one season ago. And, I said this on the last episode where it was more an in-depth look at who this Ohio team is, what's their identity, what they bring back, and this quarterback, Parker Navarro, that we broke down on last episode, so you can check that one out. But Mountaineer coaches and players and fans, Ohio has our attention. If they didn't before the season kicked off, they certainly do now because of their performance in Week 1. And, again, obviously because of what they bring back in their quarterback and in a running back that's really good. And you have our attention. And so as the Mountaineers turn their attention to Ohio this weekend, this episode's just dedicating to listing out 5 things to watch for as Mountaineer fans, 5 things to watch for in this matchup. Again, Mountaineer Moment available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music, so you can check us out on all those platforms and hit that subscribe button. Will be greatly appreciated. So 5 things to watch for in this matchup with Ohio. Number 1, and this was an easy number 1 for me to come up with, it is the matchup, chess match that's going to unfold between Zach Alley and Ohio Bobcats quarterback Parker Navarro. So Zach Alley, we know what we have with him. We're learning, obviously, game by game. We're going to continue to learn more this week about what he brings to the table with his unique defensive mind and schemes, plays aggressive with a lot of creativity, multiple blitz packages, an emphasis on forcing turnovers, as Mountaineers were able to force a couple in Week 1 against Robert Morris. Love to see that. And on the other side is an Ohio quarterback that is very much a dual-threat quarterback who ran for over 1,000 yards and 18 touchdowns in the MAC last season. Very impressive numbers. Got it done through the air as well with 2,400 yards and 13 touchdowns. So how is this matchup going to play out? It's a fun one to keep an eye on. So that's number 1. Keep an eye on that because how's this chess game going to play out? How much of an emphasis is Zach Alley going to place on, QB containment, on stopping the run? And then how's that going to affect the back end? Are they going to, be able to find easy open passes, open receivers for Navarro? If Navarro starts to run the ball really well and starts to scramble outside for a few first downs on 3rd and long, how's that going to impact Zach Alley's schemes, and in-game adjustments, which obviously we did not have to see in Week 1 against Robert Morris. That was one of the takeaways or one of the questions that I have that still needs answered is okay, when's Zach Alley going to be unleashed, right? We've heard a lot about him. He didn't want to show his hand too much against Robert Morris, and understandably so. They took care of business in that one. Really, really strong performance defensively. But now, against Ohio and against a very talented quarterback, what's the game plan look like? And if not more importantly, what's the in-game adjustments that Zach Alley is going to make when adversity comes, when Ohio moves the ball, when they score a couple touchdowns? What is that really going to look like? Navarro had 239 yards in Week 1 against Rutgers of the Big Ten at Rutgers, 21 for 31 and 3 touchdowns. Also led the team in rushing yards, 93 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown in their 34-31 loss to Rutgers, a comeback that fell short, but again, one that obviously caught our attention nonetheless. Number 2. So that's number 1. Number 2 is how will this West Virginia offensive line fare against stiffer competition that Ohio presents? So aside from a few penalties in West Virginia's opening game, the offensive line did what they needed to do. Were able to clear up running lanes for Jahiem and company, and lots of yardage through the air and on the ground. And now going up against what you would think to be a stiffer, more difficult defense to go up against, how's this offensive line going to perform? We know Rich likes to run the football, but obviously running the football relies on what's going on down in the trenches as well as passing the ball through the air with Nicco, right? So how is this offensive line going to fare against an Ohio Bobcats team who, by the way, if you didn't hear it already, won their conference a season ago with an 11-3 record. So keep an eye on the battle in the trenches moving forward this Saturday. So that's number 2. Keep an eye on the battle of the trenches. How is this offensive line going to perform? Number 3, something to just keep an eye on for fun, and really easy one to keep an eye on, is this battle for the number 1 quarterback spot really over? Released a video, post-game of Robert Morris saying that, man, if that was truly a quarterback battle, it certainly didn't look like it, because Nicco was the only guy that played through 3 quarters. Jalen Henderson and company didn't come in until it was a 28-point game in West Virginia's advantage. And Nicco played exceptionally well, 85% completion rate, 224 yards, 13 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Played really, really well. And so, to me, the thing to keep an eye on is an obvious thing is, okay, is Nicco going to be the only guy in the game if this is a tight contest, right? So if the line is that this is a 3-point spread in favor of West Virginia, that means it's going to be a close game throughout. Is Nicco going to be the only quarterback to see the field? Last week, that was the case. Nicco was the only guy to see the field through 3 quarters. And I don't know. I don't know. That's just something to keep an eye on. It's not necessarily something I have an opinion on or a take on, or that I'm going to predict what's going to happen. It might be very different from last week. Maybe Nicco comes out for a drive, and then next thing you know, Jalen's out there playing. We don't know exactly how it's going to shake out, but that's something to keep an eye on. And if it really is Nicco all game long, if this is a close game and no one else sees a snap, then yeah, again, doesn't seem like much of a quarterback battle that was talked about all through camp and preseason and week 1 leading up to that. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the quarterback situation as always. Number 4 is, will Jahiem White get a little help from his friends? So obviously he's the feature back now. Obviously C.J. Donaldson is on to Ohio State, and Jahiem White's the workhorse. Had 18 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns against Robert Morris. Sincere Bowers and Clay Ash received carries as well. Dior Hubbard did not receive a carry. Ty Edwards did not receive a carry, although I saw him check into the game. But they're obviously hoping to be contributors as well. So it's not that I don't think any of those guys are capable. When I say, will Jahiem get a little help from his friends, I'm really saying that even just that Jahiem would get a breather, because he is a workhorse, because it's a gauntlet of a season to walk through in power, Division I football, to be the feature back, not to mention in Rich Rod's offense. So you're going to get banged up. You're going to need a breather. And what's that time with Jahiem White off of the field really going to look like? Is it going to be the 2 guys that we saw get a few carries last week and Bowers ripped one off for like a 25-yard touchdown run? Is Ty Edwards going to get some action? Is Dior Hubbard going to get action? And what are they going to do with their carries that they get? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a must that West Virginia has a solidified number 2 back. It very well might be that these 3-4 guys are going to be rotating carries all season. It could be that. I just hope that the right guy is on the right on the field at the right time for the right play. That's what I'm hoping. So whatever that needs is going to shake out to look like, we'll get a little bit more clarity in week 2 based on which of these guys get carries, which of them don't. Maybe they all get carries, and what that means moving forward for West Virginia. Again, no doubt Jaheim's the guy, but someone else got to get some carries too. And what do they do with those minutes, with those minutes, like college basketball, with those carries? All right, that's number 4. Number 5, fifthly, lastly, will it be the West Virginia linebacking group that stands out again? So I mentioned in the breakdown episodes of the Robert Morris game that this West Virginia linebackers position group really is the one that stood out in week one as having the strongest performance. Shout out to Reed Carrico, Chase Wilson, Ben Cutter, Ben Bogle, Ashton Woods, all very key contributors, making things happen all over the field, flying around. But now, again, a stiffer test, Parker Navarro, and you go to their place. You're going to be chasing him down, I'm sure, a little bit in the running game and trying to limit what he can do in the passing game. So will it be the West Virginia linebackers that we're talking about as having another solid performance at the end of the game, or will it be another position group that's going to step up and say, you know what, this was their day? Because I really do. I think game one in blowout fashion, I get it, and everybody weren't too many problems as far as what you saw from players aside from fumbles and penalties and beating yourself. But the linebackers stood out to me as being the best position group on the field. And so will it be them again, or will it be the defensive line? Will it be, this group of receivers that Nicco Markell said that we have a ton of depth at receiver, deepest room in the Big 12? Will it be them? So keep an eye on that. Again, I think it was far and away the linebackers last week. Will it be them again this week that stick out, or will it be another position group? There will be more content to come as we count down to kickoff for week 2 between West Virginia and Ohio. Again, this has been 5 things to watch for in this matchup as West Virginia travels to Athens, Ohio to take on the Bobcats Saturday, September 6th at 4 o'clock on ESPNU. Be sure to subscribe to Mountaineer Moment. Be in the know when we have new content coming. And again, there will be more this week as we count down to kickoff. Be sure to check it out. Let's go Mountaineers.